Everyone thinks that a great fight scene is all about choreography. Well, they're not. Look at what people are actually saying about this killer fight from A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. And I'll point something out, they're not talking about sword techniques. My name is Caleb, and I design fights for a living. I was the fight coordinator for Marvel's Thunderbolts, as well as John Wick's Ballerina. And I can tell you that the reason this scene works is because of the 5 things that I'm going to cover in this video that have almost nothing to do with choreography. And make sure you stick around for number 5 because it's the one that most people miss altogether. And by the way, if you haven't seen the series yet, this is going to contain some spoilers, so you've been warned. So first up, it's what I just mentioned. Audiences don't care about choreography. And for this point, I want to clarify that when I say choreography, I mean the actual techniques and moves the characters do. If moves were the reason that this fight works, then you would expect the audience to be talking about sword techniques, but look at what people are actually saying in YouTube comments. They're saying things like, Dunk isn't the most skilled fighter, but he just keeps getting back up. I love how claustrophobic this scene feels. The first person POV was genius. Egg training himself as Squire really paid off here. And 99% of the comments that I saw were things exactly like this. And I want you to notice that no one is talking about sword techniques or choreography. They're talking about character traits and story points. They're talking about the tension within the battle. And most importantly, they're talking about how this fight feels. And I did a deep dive on this exact thing in a previous video, and I stand by it. Most people just don't care what the moves are. Now, that doesn't mean that characters should just do random things, and we'll get to that, but amazing fight scenes sit at the intersection of smart choreography and great storytelling. But no matter what, a fight that tells a story is going to win every single time. But if it's not the choreography, then what is it? And this is the thing that most people can't answer, so let's keep going. The next thing that this fight sequence does so well is it reveals who these characters are. Let's look at the way these characters fight. Arian fights with precision. He's composed and he's tactical, and these choices are really smart because they're a physical reflection of him being a prince. He fights like an aristocrat who's had the best of the best training his entire life. It's how a prince should fight. But this is in direct contrast to Dunk's fighting style. First of all, he's terrified to even enter the battle. In fact, the only reason why he engages in the fight in the beginning is because he's forced to when Egg screams at his horse to go, which is also a genius throwback to when Egg was training his horse in an earlier episode. And when he finally does start, he's messy. He uses brute force and he's instinctive, and the entire fight he's basically in survival mode. But that's the reason why this is so rad, because as we see in other scenes in the series, that is a reflection of his entire life. He grew up in the streets. Dunk is a survivor. And the fans commented on this. Dunk may not be the most skilled fighter, but he's the most physically gifted. I saw countless comments about how many times he got stabbed and just kept going. Or this one that honestly kind of cracked me up. Duncan isn't the best at 1v1, but goddamn is he a tank. Still gets back up to finish the fight. Notice what he doesn't say. He doesn't say, oh my god bro, amazing sword technique. He's commenting on who Dunk is as a person. It reveals character. And my favorite comment that I saw, because it really drives the point home, Dunk is the Game of Thrones version of Rocky. Because it's true, as the fight progresses, we see that Rocky contrast. We watch as Dunk takes a beating but just keeps getting back up. And then we watch that play out after a heart-stopping moment where I personally thought it might have all been over, as Prince Arian's will is completely shattered, but Dunk continues to fight. A picture-perfect contrast between someone who has never known struggle and someone who has only known survival.
I'm not a stable boy, my lord.
Well, if you can't manage horses, then fetch me some wine and a pretty wench.
For a fight scene like this to matter, it has to be a physical expression of who these people are. It isn't about cool moves, it's about the truthful behavior of these characters. And as you can see from all the comments, these are the things that the audience notices. All right, so now we're getting somewhere, but there's a reason that this fight works so well that's even deeper than just the characters, and it's something that I almost never see filmmakers do well. The next killer thing about this fight is that the way that this thing is captured is immersive. The chaos and the way that this fight is shot and edited is a storytelling masterclass. It actually feels like this is a real battle through the eyes of someone experiencing it for the first time. And because of some of those crazy POV shots through the helmet, parts of it actually are. But it goes beyond that, because even when we watch this thing from the outside, the shot choices are showing the audience what Dunk is experiencing as he's experiencing it. Attackers in danger come into frame at the very last second, just like they would if we were in his shoes. And camera work like this forces us to experience this from Dunk's point of view. And speaking of point of view, one of the biggest mistakes I see in fight scenes is when both characters are filmed with equal emphasis. This disconnects the audience because then it becomes about performance and not about emotion. And a good fight scene should always always be about making the audience feel something. And here we either feel like we are Dunk or we feel like we're standing next to someone that we care about and we're watching for what's gonna happen next. So we've got character, we've got camera work, but none of this would matter without this next piece, and this one is a little uncomfortable. The story itself ultimately tricks us into rooting for a liar. Now stay with me because this is a storytelling masterclass in how to pull the emotional strings of an audience. So on paper, Dunk is a fraud.
It's my grip as well as it ever fit his.
He lied when he took the identity of a knight, and the story does something difficult here. It makes us root for a man that technically shouldn't even be here or in this situation. This sets up a moral crossroads for the audience and for Dunk, especially when other people start suffering the consequences of his decision. And when I was watching this, I was on the edge of my seat every time another character fell or when Dunk was in danger, because I couldn't stop thinking, man, this is all because this dude lied about being a knight. And we feel sorry for him, even when it was his own lie that brought him here. And it becomes a moral dilemma for us as the audience. Can a man tell a lie that causes other people to die and still be a good man? But at this point in the story, we love Dunk because we know who he actually is. It's also emotionally universal because we can all relate to the fact that you can have all the merit and values of someone who deserves to be in a good position, like being a knight, but because life isn't fair, never actually be able to achieve it. This is what makes him feel real. And all of this is pivotal to the emotions that we feel during the battle because it raises the stakes. It isn't just Dunk who might suffer the consequences, it's 6 other honorable knights. Now you might think that this is the biggest reason why this fight is so incredible, but it's not. Everything that I just told you only works because of one thing, and it happens before the fight even starts. The biggest reason that this fight works so well is because the fight actually starts in episode 1. Dunk knights himself. The minute that this happens, it plants the question in our heads, is this man actually worthy of being a knight? And as the series progresses, the tension increases. When he first enters the tournament, we ask ourselves, will he be exposed? Tension increases further when he sees all the corruption in the knighthood, when Arian cheats in the joust, when he's asked to throw the tournament, and again when he's betrayed by the knight Stefan before the battle. We see all this in direct contrast to Dunk's actual character when he refuses to throw the tournament, when he hesitates to knight Raymond. And of course we see it most of all when he protects Tansel the puppeteer and beats the dog shit out of a prince. Every one of these things ups the stakes. In the beginning, he's just fighting for recognition, but now he's fighting for his life. And by the time the trial begins, we know everything we need to know about Dunk's character. He deserves to be a knight morally. He protects the weak. He acts with honor. He risks himself for others.
The knight defends the innocent. That's all I did.
But before the battle, the question we ask ourselves is, can he survive the physical test? This fight isn't just a fight. It's an answer to the question that the story has been asking since episode 1. Is Dunk actually worthy of the title that he claimed? Great storytelling is about character transformation, and we watch as Dunk goes from a pretender all alone on the side of the road to the embodiment of a knight fighting royalty for protecting the innocent. Great fight scenes aren't about choreography, they're about questions. And the best fight scenes are the ones where the audience has been waiting through an amazing story to find out the answers. If you want to learn how to craft fight scenes like this, I teach my full process inside Fight Lab. The link is in the description. And if you want to see more breakdowns and content like this, let me know in the comments, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.